but news has just broken regarding Trinidad Chambliss now getting his 6th year of eligibility. I have a lot of thoughts. I had more thoughts than I initially realized, frankly, for the fact of I'm not here to really talk about Trinidad Chambliss and whether or not he should or should not get that 6th year of eligibility. That's not what we're going to be talking about, to just set that baseline, because I think it's a moot point. College football at its core is broken. It is just outright broken. Every athlete that can extend their eligibility to the absolute brink will find any avenue to do so. Trinidad Chambliss was not the first one to do this. He's not going to be the last one to do it until there's actual parameters set to avoid these situations. So that's why I don't think it's a productive conversation to truly sit down and say, oh, he should not get that 6 year of eligibility because of JUCO not having red shirts and the injuries and whether or not he was hurt or not, and not here to have that conversation. I do think it is more interesting to have a conversation on, was this all worth it? That may seem like a rhetorical question, because obviously if you're going through this process and you are Trinidad Chambliss and his team and the lawyers and all this, that to get to the end of the finish line and you got what you wanted. In that case, in that perspective, of course it's worth it. But let me share a perspective that I'm coming from. Someone that is just talking into a microphone and a camera on a late night on a Thursday. Trinidad Chambliss, his draft stock is never going to be as high as it is right now. To call a spade, we're talking about an NFL draft class that I've been studying front to back to front. The quarterback position group is arguably the weakest of the entire class, right there with running back. Both of them being saved by incredible talents in Fernando Mendoza and Jeremiah Love, respectively. But from that point going forward, it's a weak draft class. And you had an incredible college football playoff run. I mean, just one of the historical, what we're going to look back on is an all-time classic, an all-time great playoff performance and a playoff run, very similar to what we see in March Madness with like the Walter Claytons of the world, the Kemba Walkers. A lot of people are going to get compared to Trinidad Chambliss and the run that he had in the college football playoff. That's how good he was playing. Frankly, I was comparing him to Steph freaking Curry with how much on a heater he was being on. This dude was remarkable. There's not enough adjectives in the damn dictionary that could describe how damn good he was in the college football playoff. There was discussions. There was talking points about, oh, could he find himself in the back end of the first round because of how weak the quarterback class, and honestly, the relative class itself was seen as weak, and it is relatively weak compared to future classes and the classes before it. I think he would have ended up landing probably in the second round because what he does have is this creative ability to extend plays. He could play through the confines of a system. There's a lot of things to like with Trinidad Chambliss as an NFL prospect. But the red flags are that he is a very old quarterback compared to a lot of guys coming out, like Dante Moore, I believe, is 20 and about to be 21. Chambliss is 24. He will be 25 by the time he is going to be playing in the NFL in a year's time, which presents its unique challenges, but he's also undersized. Very much undersized. We're not just talking about, oh, he's 6'1", 6 foot. He is an undersized quarterback, and I'm sure very similar to Diego Pavia, once those measurements really become official, he's going to become even more undersized, and he's not even bulky like a Diego Pavia. So you have these baseline problems as a prospect. And I'm coming from the perspective that the NFL draft is the last thing. It is the goal. And if Trinidad Chambliss was to comment, somehow see this, and say, yeah, the NFL draft wasn't my end goal, that's fine. Ignore the rest of my point. But I would be shocked if that's the case. I would be shocked if what he wants with the rest of his career is either option A, one final season at Ole Miss, the 6th year, the experience to be at Ole Miss for one final time, which credit to him. Like, I'm sure he loves Oxford, Mississippi. The fans obviously love him. Going from Ferris State winning championships to having the run that he did, and it feels like he wants to finish the story. I get it. I do. But his draft stock was never going to be as high as it is right now. Not only for the fact that he is going to have another year added to his age, not for the fact that I think Ole Miss overall is going to be taking a step back, not only in its roster talent, but the overall quality of the coaching staff. If you want to even get more granular than that, the quality of the offensive minds within the confines of Oxford, Mississippi is going to take a step back. It would be insane to expect that they were going to get at least the bare minimum quality that we had with Charlie Weiss and Lane Kiffin to continue with a completely different coaching staff. I wouldn't say completely different because you still have Pete Golding, who's the interim, gone full-time. Nonetheless, the things that are out of his control are automatically going to diminish his draft stock. 2027 looks to be an incredible quarterback class. We've talked about it on this page. I've detailed 11 names I could viably see being first-round talents. Now, I'm not saying all 11 are going to be first-round talents, but there's 11 guys I think have crazy amount of talent that is all going to pass up Chambliss. Throw in the fact that the overall class is better. My point being, what we're not talking about enough is why did he just not go to the NFL? Your draft stock was never going to be as high as it was. It's a weak class. You are probably going to be quarterback 2 or 3, bare minimum. Instead, you are choosing another year of tape to show your flaws, your weaknesses, your strengths, who you are as a player without Lane Kiffin, without Charlie Weiss, which you could somehow do mental gymnastics to convince me that's a good thing. And then you throw in the fact that the class is better. I'm not upset that Trinidad Chambliss is back in college football. That's not the point of me saying this whatsoever. I'd be dumb to say that. I'd be dumb to say, yeah, my favorite sport in the entire face of the earth, I don't want another star quarterback. I'd rather see Deuce Knight try to develop on the fly and start for the Ole Miss Rebels. Even though I'm a fan of a team in the SEC, we don't play Ole Miss. I couldn't care less what they do. I'd be dumb to not want to watch Trinidad Chambliss play once again. But I can also be logical. I could also be reasonable and say, you guys have jumped through every hoop in the book, sending as many files as you can to say, we should get that year of eligibility. It almost gets to a point where you can make an argument, was this petty? Was this just truly to spite the NCAA for finally trying to put their foot down and say, enough is enough? And frankly, whenever they put their foot down, it sounds like a squeaky toy because it's that unserious. I could almost see that perspective that Chambliss and his group really just felt pettiness and wanted to stick to their guns and get to the finish line and prove that the NCAA was the ones in wrong. And they're in the wrong for so many different reasons. And now they choose to put their foot down. It's like you can't just randomly decide you have a spine and a backbone. That's the NCAA's problem, one of many. I also want to have another perspective on Ole Miss as a whole, which if you picked up the tea leaves and you understood what I was trying to say at the first part, Ole Miss got Kwan Lacy. They now have Trinidad Chambliss. They potentially have their future in Deuce Knight. You have Pete Golding, who's going to man up the defense. I get it. There's plenty if you want to sell me on some Ole Miss stock, I know what your talking points are going to be. I'm not buying. I'm not going to buy on Ole Miss this 2026. Trinidad Chambliss is a really fun quarterback. The last thing in your mind, the last thing you saw with Trinidad Chambliss was a damn good quarterback, one that pushed Ole Miss to the brink of going to the national championship. Understand that wasn't all rainbow and sunshines with Chambliss. It wasn't. And that was the perfect situation for him. He was a flawed player entering. That's why he wasn't the starting quarterback. He turns out to be an incredible player. There's nothing that is going to come out of my mouth that try to discredit what he is as a player. But the surrounding circumstances are going to take a step back. Coaching is so important time and time again. I'm like any preseason take, it's a gamble. You are betting on whether or not you want to believe in one aspect of a team or another. I banked on the fact that South Carolina was a three-headed monster and there was nothing underneath. They were a top 13 team entering 2025. I was banking on the fact that that was fool's gold. That was snake oil. I did not believe in it. I think Ole Miss has a lot of great, talented players. Kawan Lacey is so much fun to watch. Trinidad Chambliss is a playmaker. He's going to win a ton of games for Ole Miss. He's also a finished product. The SEC projects to be stronger. His situation around him projects to be worse. Yeah, that defense looks solid. I'm not sure that defense is going to be elite. I still stand on the fact that regardless of what happened with the Trinidad Chambliss eligibility, I've said this for months at this point, regardless of what was going to happen with that, I was still going to be low on Ole Miss because I could see it as clear as day. We get 2-3 years down the line. We look back at Ole Miss. The question could end up being, was that the best of the Pete Golding era? And the best of the Pete Golding era had Lane Kiffin's hands all over it. If Ole Miss had found a way to win the national championship, Lane Kiffin would have gotten a ring. Whether Ole Miss fans want to agree with that, he would have, and deservingly so, should have gotten a ring. I think in actual practice, he probably would not have for how he left Ole Miss, but he deserved one. And he deserves a ton of credit for what that offense was, especially with Charlie Weiss, a damn good OC. The Chambliss story is a great one. You get a superstar back into the ecosystem with an already loaded quarterback class, but a lot of the common college football fans really struggle with what's a great college quarterback to the NFL. I don't think his stock is going to be any higher than what we saw in January, and I think it's just going to get lower at this point. I'm willing to plant the flag now, and we will see a year from now what that will look like. I'm willing to make a bet that his stock will not be as high as a second-round pick currently right now as it stands. But like we said before, if the NFL is not the final goal, if that amount of money that will come with being a second-round pick is not the goal at the end of the day, he gets the NIL package, I'm sure. And congratulations to Trinidad Chambliss. I don't mean it to come off as a backhanded thing to say, truthfully. I'm happy that he's back in college football. But my opinion that no one asked for, but I'm still going to give out because that's what I'm supposed to do as someone that loves talking about college football. That's my take on it. You should have gone to the NFL draft. I don't know if this whole storyline was necessary at the end of the day. And that's coming from someone that loves college football, and I'm happy Chambliss is going to be back on the field. Truthfully.